You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
It's your co-host, Danny.
And fans, we have a full show, so let's get right to it. Danny has some sad news here. One of our coaches from high school, from Racine Horlick High School, Coach Ken Black, has actually passed away. And we just want to extend our condolences to the Black family. Coach Black was a very charismatic, I would just say he was a very charismatic coach, one who really was great for students. I would say probably a player coach, if you will. So rest in peace, Coach Black. Our condolences to the family. In addition, Danny, Lee Elder, a renowned golfer who really set the tone for Black golfers all over the world. He set the tone for Tiger Woods. Lee Elder actually passed away earlier this week. And Lee Elder, we did a show on Lee Elder because obviously he was a part of the ceremony for opening up the Masters earlier this year. Fans, take a listen to our previous podcast on Lee Elder. Man, just a phenomenal story, Danny. I mean, I just wish they would really go ahead and create a story, a biopic or something on Lee Elder.
Agreed.
Lee Elder was just absolutely phenomenal in terms of the things that he went through. And one thing that really stood out for me about Lee Elder in his career was the fact of which he partnered with Gary Player. Gary Player actually invited him to play golf in South Africa during apartheid. Mm-hmm. And just the barriers that were broken from that standpoint, from that act alone. It's written that Gary Player actually had to go to the then president in South Africa to allow Lee Elder to play, to basically put aside the apartheid rules, if you will, in order for that match to actually occur. And then Lee Elder went and played in Africa, and man, just a phenomenal story, which I think really needs to be showcased. Our condolences to the Elder family, and man, just a phenomenal story, a phenomenal career, and a phenomenal life. And then, just as we talk about Lee Elder, man, the doors he opened for the likes of Tiger Woods to really come in and do his thing, man. Keep in mind, fans, Lee Elder was the first African-American golf player to play in the Masters. Mm-hmm. And so he really opened the door for the likes of Tiger Woods to actually become a Masters champion. So it was interesting in the news of Mr. Lee Elder. Simultaneously, the news from Tiger Woods, in which he's actually done an in-depth interview since his car accident in February. And in this interview that he did with Golf Digest, and I quote, he says, I think something that is realistic is playing the tour one day, never full time ever again, but pick and choose, just like Mr. Ben Hogan did. Pick and choose a few events a year, and you play around that. You practice around that, and you gear yourself up for that. I think that's how I'm going to have to play it from now on. It's an unfortunate reality, but it's my reality, and I understand it, and I accept it, unquote. So Tiger Woods, man, Danny, what say you on this Tiger Woods news?
They haven't really said yet the severity of his leg injury. Obviously, he's gone through a lot based on that interview, and to be where he's at seems unreal based on the accident. So he was in a car accident back in February, heading to a golf tournament. Not a lot of details have been released on this, but his leg did get pretty much messed up. And in golf, for all the golfers out there, you know how much you have to use your legs when you're swinging that club. It's your back and all the torque, and as hard as he was swinging, I don't know how he comes back from this. So
Man.
it's going to be hard. And he seems like he said accepting it, but once you get those juices flowing, it's like anything else, man, you've done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you get out there, basketball, whatever you're playing, running, whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
and you think you want to revert back to the way your old self. So there'll have to be, mentally, it's going to, I think, take a toll on him for a little bit. But if he's coming to grips that he can't play the way he used to, yeah, it's hard to say until you actually see him and like how he's walking and, does he have a limp? How much pressure can he even put on that leg after being surgically repaired? So I don't know until you see, you'll know better.
Well, here's the other thing too, Danny. We got to realize, Tiger's been out for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And so the competition has gotten younger, has gotten hungrier. And man, if Tiger so happens to win, not necessarily another major, but just a regular tournament, I think that he would go over the moon with just that.
Yes.
But honestly.
Yes.
But if he competes for a major, oh boy,
yeah.
The ratings on that will be through the roof. Literally. Let me ask you this, Danny. What percentage or what's the likelihood would you give it that Tiger wins another tournament or another major?
I would say a tournament. Man, it's hard to say without even seeing him swing a club, but because these newer dudes, man, they're hitting a mess out of the ball.
Yeah.
And they're accurate. So it's not like they're just spraying it all over the place. They're actually pretty accurate. I would say a tournament, just straight guess, I would say 5%. Major, I would say 5%. I'll keep it real low.
Yeah.
I just don't, based on the way he was talking and his body language and everything, and based on what the reports were about his leg, that's hard to come back from, man. So I'd say it's really low. You never say never, right?
Exactly.
You won't be that person, but I think the odds are against him.
I would give it 10 to 15% that he would actually win another tournament. As far as a major, I would have to give him about 5%, man. I would give him about 5%. I agree with you. Until we really see him out there, that's something else. But I would say this, Danny. I would give him a 25% chance to win on a senior tour. I think he'll be able to do something out there, and I think he'll beat out some of the the older, more seasoned golfers and everything at that point in time. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. And now, Danny, to the NFL, and where, boy, this past weekend was something else, and where the Packers went ahead and beat the Rams. But man, just as we're talking about the Packers and everything, and their win, we have to look at the Rams, man. What in the world happened to the Rams? They went ahead and got some pieces.
Yep.
They got some pieces to go ahead and make that playoff push and make that playoff run, but man, it just hasn't materialized as of yet. I mean, you have OBJ. He did get a touchdown, his first touchdown as a Ram against the Packers. But man, Matt Stafford threw another pick six. That's what, 3 games in a row or something like that. Come on, Matt Stafford. So I don't know, Danny. What are your thoughts on the Rams?
Jason, we talked about this a couple shows ago, man, and I think a couple things here with the Rams. One, when they signed OBJ, they lost Robert Woods to the ACL. Mm-hmm. I think that was huge because Robert Woods was having a great year. He was a release for Matt Stafford. And, OBJ is still getting up to speed on the playbook. You can see when the coach, they panned over to the sidelines. He's still trying to figure things out. So with Cooper Kupp and OBJ trying to get up to speed, Robert Woods, if they had Robert Woods, I think it would be a different story on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on the defensive side of the ball too, you're bringing in a new piece as well. So I think there's some gelling that has to go on. And I think they get right this week with Jacksonville. I believe they play Jacksonville this week. So that being said, Matt Stafford, I just don't know if he is the quarterback to get them to win the Super Bowl, even get to the Super Bowl. So if the Rams have to go on the road to Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers and those dudes, man, they won't they're going to be all right with that because they know Matt Stafford. Mm-hmm. They seen Matt Stafford. Anywhere else, Matt Stafford might thrive, but if he has to go to Lambeau, I don't like the Rams' chances the way they're playing right now. Now, if they get some time, they get gelling, OBJ gets up to speed, mm-hmm. and he can play that Robert Woods role, I think they'll be okay. But Matt Stafford he turns the ball over too much, man. And I just don't know, in a pressure situation in the playoffs, which he has not been in, how is he going to react?
Well, to that point, though, here's my concern with a potential Rams-Packers rematch. That would be the third time they would have played in 2 seasons, 2 playoff games and 1 regular season game. Mm-hmm. My concern would be the familiarity of the Rams would have, one with the cold, mm-hmm. Especially in the stadium, especially in Green Bay. One of the advantages that the Packers have is home field advantage in the cold. Mm-hmm. Rams played obviously last year at Lambeau in the cold. It was a little chilly this last time. So maybe the Rams are used to it. Maybe they never get used to it, but I would err on the side of them getting kind of used to it, getting used mm-hmm. to flying into Green Bay, getting used to the visitors' locker room, getting used to the field, and then ultimately getting used to the defenses that Green Bay has played against them over the past couple of years. So that would be my concern with a potential rematch, Danny. And I would say this too: when we look at the standings right now,
yep,
season would end today, and the playoffs started, you would have the Arizona Cardinals at the number 1 seed. And keep in mind, fans, this year there's going to be 7 teams in each division that actually makes the playoffs. The first seeded team would have that bye. The rest of the teams would actually have to go ahead and play that first weekend. And so as it stands right now, the Arizona Cardinals would be the number 1 seed, Packers number 2, Tampa Bay number 3, Dallas Cowboys at number 4, Rams at number 5, 49ers at number 6, and the Washington football team at number 7. And so, man, an intriguing matchup would be that of the Rams against the Cowboys in the first round, Danny. Mm-hmm. That would be very impressive. And I think I would have to really just kind of sit and think that game out, quite honestly. And I don't think it matters what stadium they would be in. They'll both be indoors. Man, I would have to, that would be an interesting game. And I think for me, it depends upon who's hurt, who's mm-hmm. playing, or who's not playing. that would be a huge factor. Um, Cowboys they just don't have that running game like they used to, and I think the Rams would be able to hang with the Cowboys, man. I really believe that. And I think OBJ will finally get used to the offense over the next 4 or 5 games here.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that would be very interesting, Danny. But I don't know about the Rams. What say you?
Yeah, I don't see Green Bay losing to Washington. Chase Young is out. They are starting to play a little bit better right now. And truth be told, that 7th spot, there's a ton of teams vying for that last spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this could all shift. So we're talking as of now, because my Atlanta Falcons are right there with them, 5-6. But we got a tough stretch coming up, starting with Tampa Bay this weekend. But that Cowboys Rams game, I agree. Amari Cooper's coming back tonight. And I think CeeDee Lamb is actually playing as well. So they're trying to get healthy. And I know they had a COVID outbreak as well. So they got at least a few weeks ahead of the playoffs to deal with that. And then the Buccaneers, 49ers. The Buccaneers, I don't know, man. They're good, but Tom's been struggling a little bit. So I don't think they would have an issue with the 49ers, but Tom has been starting slow, put it like that. They've won these games. Fournette had a monster game last week.
He sure did.
Man,
sure
he
did.
went off.
But I would say probably some of the struggle is due to Antonio Brown not being there, and it just came out that he is suspended for 3 games for violating the virus protocol. So that's another 3 games, but we'll see what happens with the Buccaneers. In the AFC, you have Baltimore Ravens at the number 1, Patriots at number 2, Titans at number 3, Chiefs 4, Bengals 5, Buffalo Bills 6, and LA Chargers at 7. Baltimore with the first round bye. So therefore it'll be New England against the Chargers. That would be a very interesting matchup. Young quarterbacks. Man, that would be a very interesting matchup. But I think the Patriots, the way they're playing right now, man, they may prevail on that one. Then you have Tennessee against Buffalo.
These AFC matchups are no joke.
Oh my gosh, man. This is just going to be. And then you have the Chiefs versus the Bengals. Man, these matchups are going to be wicked that first week. I can't call it, man. I'm just gonna sit back with my nice beverage, maybe some wings, sit back and watch these games, man, and just enjoy.
Yes.
That first week is gonna be something else. It's gonna be something else, man. What say you, Danny?
And the AFC, I think a lot of shifting still may happen. So the Ravens are currently number 1, but they have a tough schedule coming up. I know they play the Rams. I know they play the Packers. I think they still have the Bengals and possibly the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember all the games, but so they have a tough stretch where they're at the whole pat here, man. And they have been shaky as well. And Lamar had a tough game last week. They prevailed over Cleveland, even though he threw 4 picks. So I think with him not practicing, their timing is off. And Lamar has a lot of pressure on him in this playoff run here, man, because they've been right there and they just can't get over the hump. So we'll see what happens and if they can stay in that number 1 spot. But man, looking at this list here, the Chargers at 7, Buffalo at 6, and Cincinnati's playing. Their defense has actually stepped up. So if their defense can play halfway decent, they have a good shot, man, with their offense. But you just don't know with the younger quarterbacks. with
Mm-hmm.
Mac
Mm-hmm.
Jones, Herbert, and Burrow,
Mm-hmm.
how they'll react to the playoff environment. I'm looking forward to it, man. All these are some great matchups if they hold pat.
Mm-hmm. Agreed there. One team that we did not mention at all out of the NFC was the Carolina Panthers. Now, that storyline right there with Cam Newton coming back, signing with the Panthers, and starting all to for him to be benched late in the game. Danny, I'm rooting for Cam. I am. I think it may be time. It may be time, man. Did you see that last game he played in?
Yes, I did.
Hell, I didn't. I just looked at the highlights. That's all I needed to do, man. I just looked at the stats too. You see those stats, man?
Yes, I did.
Hey,
Yes, I
man.
did.
Listen, I just think I know you had to put in maybe a different offense for Cam.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those stats were bad.
Yes, they
Those
were.
stats were real bad, and I'm just thinking maybe it's time for Cam just to. I'm not going to say hang it up. I just want him to rip the ball. I want him to. I know that's. I don't know. I don't know if it was the offense. I mean, in fans, what I'm talking about is Cam Newton going 5 for 21 for 92 yards
And 2 picks.
and 2 picks.
Mm-hmm. I think
His
it's his shoulder, Jason. I think it's his
his,
shoulder, man. Since that's shoulder surgery, he hasn't been able to throw the ball.
his QBR is 5.8. It's just going to be interesting to see how this really shapes up for Cam. And now, Danny, on to the NBA, where the Milwaukee Bucks actually signed Boogie Cousins. And they needed to do that. It was actually, I think, a good move because Brook Lopez actually had successful surgery on his back on earlier today. Brook hadn't really played since after that first game of the season. And so he did have successful back surgery. Seems like the Bucks, they're optimistic that Brook will come back in the season. But until then, they went ahead and signed Boogie Cousins, and where Boogie actually played last night, scored. And man, I have to say, this is just really an interesting signing. I really wonder how that's going to work with their interior defense. Boogie Cousins isn't the best defender. He can score. He can shoot the three.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of defending, that is a concern that I have. And so I don't know that, Danny, what say you?
Yeah, this is definitely a depth signing. They knew something was going on with Brook, and they came out today. He had the surgery, like you mentioned. So it doesn't hurt. Obviously, he is not Brook Lopez from a defensive standpoint, but on the offensive side of the ball, he can score and create his own shot. So, yeah, you're going to be given a little there, but at least it's another big body, a veteran. He knows his role, and he's not the Boogie Cousins of old, where, I think he's been humbled a lot over, after he's had these injuries and bouncing team to team. So he can hit the three. He fits into their offense, and I don't see it hurting them at all. And if stuff gets out of hand, they have the option to let him go. But I think he'll fit in. He's in a winning situation, man. So I hope he sees where he may have an opportunity to get a ring.
Yeah, I agreed there. I mean, he gave 15 minutes, 3 for 5 from the field, 1 for 2 from the 3-point line. Also had an assist and 4 rebounds. And I think that's one thing I believe was weak in Brook's game in terms of rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the DeMarcus Cousins can actually get some rebounds, but will sacrifice a little bit on a defensive end there. So we'll see how that goes. I think that's something to watch moving forward. And I think this may be an opportunity for Boogie Cousins to really get back in the league and get that paper, man. So we'll see what happens there. Just as we talk about the Bucks, man, and we talk about some lineup changes, same thing happening over the Knicks, and where Kemba Walker has been benched, man, dropped from the starting lineup. And so I don't know, Danny. I just think, Kemba have had some knee injuries, some knee issues over the past 2-3 years. And I think Tibbs was like, you know what? We don't have to just go ahead and bench you, man. And it seemed like the Knicks may be flowing a little bit better. What say you?
Yeah, I think it's Kemba ever since he signed that contract with Boston when he left Charlotte. And then it came, he had the knee problems, and that limits his game a lot, man, because he can't be as explosive as he was when he was with Charlotte. And you remember his days in UConn. He was giving them the business.
Man, the business.
So he doesn't have that anymore. And you wonder how much time he has left actually with that knee. And you don't know if it's tendonitis kicking in or arthritis or whatever the case may be. But I just look at it, and he's not a big guard either. So that's another thing where on the defensive end, he's exposed. And
big time.
And Boston took full advantage of getting him out of the trading him, because they need. Brad Stevens saw something. He went into the GM role, was able to get rid of that contract, and he made Kemba's. Like I said, he's just not the same player. And with Tibbs, Tibbs is all about defense, and Kemba's not about that game right now. He's just not able to move as fast as he used to be, get the steals and everything. So I think he's just limited right now, and you just hope that he can hang on too, man. It seems like a theme this show with guys that are, banged up, and they may be on their last leg.
But you know what? I wonder though, in a Tibbs organization, on a Tibbs team, yes, they're defensive minded, but man, he runs them to the ground, man.
Yep.
Where their bodies really break down. I don't know if he has kind of stopped that or kind of reevaluated during his year off or what have you, if he's reevaluated how he coaches and everything, how he practices. I wonder if Kemba can take that. I wonder if he needs to be a part of a different organization, another team, and where it's probably not as defensive minded, not as hard on your body. There are teams out there who don't play on defense, man. There you go. And maybe that's a trade opportunity. So we'll see how that goes, man. But just as we talk about Kemba, let's go on the other side here. And when we talk about Steph Curry, even though Steph Curry and the Warriors lost against the Phoenix Suns, and that was a good game, man. They play again on Friday. But Steph Curry has been lighting the NBA up. With the exception of that game against Phoenix Suns. He was off. Yep. And to Phoenix's credit, they played some defense on him. But boy, Steph Curry has been cooking. What say you, Danny?
Yeah, Jay, one thing about that Warriors Suns game on Friday night, they bumped the Lakers Clippers for that game on ESPN. So
sure did. Yep.
They wanted part two of that game. That game was good. And they don't even have Klay Thompson yet from the Warriors standpoint.
Exactly.
And they're a surprise. I'm not going to lie. I didn't see them being where they're at right now. They're 18-3. And yeah, Steph Curry's been playing lights out. The supporting cast has been awesome. Poole and all those dudes. They've been bringing it, man. And that is great for Golden State because they're in this transition period where they're not usually when they're doing this, that's where the teams kind of fall off and they come back up. They're doing this in real time. Exactly. So they're getting all these younger players all this playing time, experience. Wiggins is been playing really well, and then they get Clay back. So I'm curious on how that impacts the flow,
Mm-hmm.
because you know that he's going to be itching to come out and shoot like 20 times because he's been on the men forever. So I'm just curious how that plays into it. But yeah, man, Steph Curry has been playing out of his mind, and it's every time he shoots it now, you think it's going in. Like you say, they're off night on Wednesday, but tomorrow night when they're playing Phoenix again, I'm sure he'll be ready.
Yeah, I think he'll be ready. And on to our trade card scenario, who we got, Danny?
So tonight, Jason, in honor of Boogie Cousins signing with the Milwaukee Bucks, we have DeMarcus Cousins 2010 Donruss rookie card for LaMarcus Aldridge's 2006 Topps rookie card. Couple quick bios. Marcus Cousins was the 5th overall pick out of the University of Kentucky by the Sacramento Kings in 2010. Averaged 20 so far for his career, 20.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, 3 assists a game, 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, and part of the All-Rookie team. LaMarcus Aldridge was the 2nd overall pick out of Texas by the Bulls, who then traded him to the Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And his career averages are 19.3 points, 8.2 rebounds, 2 assists a game, 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, and was also an part of the All-Rookie team. So, Jason, who do you want in your portfolio?
This was a tough one, man. And this was a tough one, Danny. I thought it was going to be easy, but the more I looked into it, I was like, man, I don't know. So let me talk it through. Listen here, man. Fans know where I'm going with this. Gotta go back to the college days. Boogie Cousins was only at University of Kentucky for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
In that 1 year, though, he did dominate. He was a massive body, a man amongst boys, quite honestly. Averaged 15 points in the college game, man. That's pretty impressive. In 9 boards, close to 10 boards a game. LaMarcus, he stayed in Texas for 2 years, had averaged close to 10 points his first year, 15 the second year. The thing with LaMarcus, man, is he just got a nice mid-range jumper, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, anywhere. I mean, whether it's down low or it's at the elbow or whatever, he just has a nice mid-range game. And in my opinion, that is something that is so needed in the playoffs. Man, this was a tough one, Danny. And I think about DeMarcus Cousins going to Sacramento, the land where great players go to just not be found out anymore. That's what Sacramento is known for, man. Come on, man. Some great players, some great college players has come out and they have gone to the Kings, and you don't hear about them for a long time. Not unless they're going to get traded from the Kings to another team. And it's like, man, where was this player all this time? Man, he was with Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
I think to a certain degree, Boogie actually brought a little prominence to Sacramento. And towards the tail end of his career in Sacramento, that's when they were really starting to kind of get good.
Yep.
And they really started to make a little noise. And then, they got new coaching, and DeMarcus and the coaches just didn't get along, and it became a very ugly story, man, in the league. And then DeMarcus gets, traded, goes down to New Orleans, gets hurt, and all. But, man, I would have loved to have seen DeMarcus at his peak in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because fans, you have to realize when I'm thinking about a card, I'm also thinking about the future value of that card. And so DeMarcus, again, he's only been in the playoffs 2 times. When we talk about LaMarcus Aldridge, we're talking about a player who's been in the playoffs 4 times for the Spurs and 5 times for the Portland Trailblazers. So he's been in the playoffs 9 times. Playoffs is of great value. Not only that, when he was in the playoffs, man, he averaged 20.8 points a game in the playoffs, man. That's nothing to sneeze at. So with that, I'm going to have to go with LaMarcus. I'm going to have to go with his card, man. And he's very effective in the playoffs, mid-range game. Doesn't have a lot of trouble in the league. He's wanted by organizations versus Boogie Cousins, and where we picked up Boogie Cousins because he wasn't playing with anybody. That speaks volumes to me, man. So I'm going with LaMarcus Aldridge's card. Who you got, Danny?
Yeah, Jason, this was tough, man. I was going back and forth because Boogie Cousins, before he had that first Achilles injury, he was putting up, when he went to New Orleans in particular, he was putting up double doubles. He was a double double machine. His career averages are double double. And I look at him, man, he's a volatile player, right? He has his ups, he has his downs, attitude, game, so on and so forth. And that's where I was trying to think, does that make his card more valuable in this case? Because LaMarcus Aldridge, you laid it out, man. He's just slow and steady. He's producing every night. He's not, you don't read about him do anything. He's just out there playing his game. So all that being said, in this scenario for the card itself, I'm going to take DeMarcus Cousins' card. And the reason I say it is because for as good as LaMarcus Aldridge has been in his career, he's flown under the radar, man. And I think people know Boogie due to his volatility, either positive or negative. And LaMarcus, he played in San Antonio. He played in Portland. He's played in small markets. Now he's in Brooklyn. But I think that's been part of his thing where he's been under the radar and he's not a household name unless you're a Hoops fan. Versus Boogie, I think he has a little more name recognition just based on who he is. So for that and that alone, pretty much, because their stats are comparable. Boogie's been out of the league and back in. He's been injured a ton now. He had both Achilles blowout on him. He's had just a lot of bad luck from an injury perspective and being able to hang on with teams. So with all that, I'm still going to go with his card in this scenario.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.